Welcome back to the GymCraic Podcast. Adrian Allen here. Hope everyone is doing well. And happy Friday. Happy Friday. Yes, it's Friday. Friday, and I'm coming to you live from Perth. I am back in Australia, my friends. I tried to sit down yesterday and record this podcast, and I couldn't. The words wouldn't come out of my mouth. And some days it's like that. And then you go away and then you have a good, vibrant morning like I've just had on a Friday and the sun is shining. And I've been to fit stop training and I've been out to the beach and I was like, just go home, turn on the microphone and just talk. Because you know what? I say I love talking. Now, when I say I love talking, I was actually listening to a podcast the last 2 days. Vin Gang, I'm butchering his name, but it was on the Diary of a CEO, and he's a public speaker. And he talks about a couple of things, which I haven't even finished listening to the podcast, but it kind of motivated and inspired me to turn on the laptop, turn on the microphone, turn on Zoom and record the podcast. And he talks about a couple of things. I'd love to actually do a course with him because I love public speaking. One thing he mentions is about pausing. That is the longest pause I have ever done in my podcast career. Because I get very excited and animated when I'm talking, especially when I'm talking to myself or just talking to you and just trying to make sense of life. And that's exactly what I'm going to try and do today. Obviously, when I do my solo podcasts, it takes a lot more energy. I've got to be a lot more vulnerable. I got to be a lot more open and honest, which I like doing. But then sometimes you can feel like that you're oversharing or that you're being a burden and that, maybe some of the stuff that I am going through with the last couple of months in life is just, it's a bit deep and hard to listen to sometimes. But I obviously try to mix it up with the training and the lifestyle stuff and, interviewing great people and inspiring stories. And that's the whole part of the podcast. And one of the big things I think I learned about doing podcasting, which I got to mention, I reached 50 episodes last week or the week before. 50 episodes. It's taken me 3 years to get to 50, but I haven't given up. A quote that I read before, that you only ever fail when you give up. And there's plenty of things I gave up on before, but it's always that quote stuck with me, is that you only ever fail once you give up. So I always think about when you say try to run a certain distance, that say if it was a 10K and you don't make it, the truth is that you haven't failed until you have literally given up and you don't try and go back again and try and, correct the mistake that you made. So with podcasting, I've got to 50 podcasts, and that's a massive achievement, to tell you the truth. And it's something that, I hope to get to another 50. Hopefully it doesn't take me 3 years to get to 50 more, but that's just the way it is. You build confidence, you learn, you figure out if it's right for you, if it's something that you want to do. And for you, that might be training, that might be, what else could it be? Might be learning or studying for a course. It might be your nutritional habits. It might be you want to give up social media. It might be that you want to give up drinking. I kind of talk about my own personal issues when I say things like that, but it's easier for me when I can give kind of like a perspective on what it is that I try and fix sometimes, and I keep going back to things, and sometimes I'm good at doing something, sometimes I'm not. But definitely getting to 50 podcasts is a massive, massive achievement. But getting back to what Vin Gang and the Diary CEO were talking about, I'm going to try and start. I remember before I was trying to start my podcasts with, something good, something bad, and something indifferent. But there's actually a terminology for this. And it is high-low buffalo. And it's a game that you can play with anyone. And it's three things. One is the high is obviously something that you were high in life about, something that's really positive, something that's really, fulfilling probably. The low is something that's depressing and that you're going through, that's a real struggle. And then there's the buffalo, which is something really random and weird and something that's kind of like, whoa, that's a bit different. So high, low, buffalo. So we're going to play it. And the first thing I'm going to talk about is the high. So the high is, and I'll just say high is something like this morning. Where am I at? Where's my high gone? I went for a sea dip with Rory. Rory is a guy that does this thing called Friends on Friday. He catches up with one person every Friday down at the beach, go for a dip, have a chat, sit down, have a coffee, and talk about things, talk about life, talk about whatever. But it's like a one-to-one conversation. It's a really cool thing. And it's really inspiring to see that, he contacts people. Do you want to catch up? He's been doing it for almost 2 years on and off. He's traveled around Australia in the meantime for 9 months. So that was a really big high this morning. It kind of did once I started talking to him. I realized, okay, come on, go home and do your podcast. Like obviously you don't want to be all high and mighty coming on speaking all the time, but sometimes you need that. He said that he caught up with 52 people last year or nearly a year ago. Every Friday he caught up with someone new, had the chats. He said really inspiring, really emotional. Sometimes emotional conversations are had with people that he catches up with. And I also got to go to Fit Stop this morning. I know this is two highs, but I got to go to Fit Stop this morning. Kirby was coaching. It's the first time I've been to Fit Stop with Kirby coaching for about 9 months, with about three or 4 months. So that was something nice that I got to do. Now, the low. What is the low of this week? Oh God, the low of this week is coming. I put down going back to work. Denny Sullivan, I was talking to him yesterday. If you've probably heard the episode with Danny at this stage, and Danny said, "Oh, going back to work after time off is like, when you go back to school in bloody September, and you've been off for 3 months, and it's like, oh my God, it's going to take like forever to get back. You don't think of it at the time, but you know that it's just going to take time to get back into work." And obviously I work FIFA fly in, fly out now, so I had to go away to work for a week or 8 days. Try and settle back into it after being in Ireland for almost 2.5 months, 10 weeks to be precise, 86 days to be precise nearly. Or that's how long I was away from Kirby. But yeah, I was away in Ireland for about 10 weeks and trying to get back into anything, into the routine of anything is going to be hard. So the low this week was definitely, getting back to work basically and trying to survive the week and everything else that goes with it. And trying, like, I'm struggling not so much with the work, it's struggling with my purpose. Is like, do I really want to be an electrician? What else should I be doing? This always goes through my head, and it's a right mental head fuck, tell you the truth. But it's something that I've got to deal with, and I've got to try and figure out and see where life leads me, basically. And in my buffalo, one random weird kind of situation or thing that's come along in the last 24 hours I went for today. So my buffalo is, I put fiber. So I'm a little bit of a health hack here. I was like, oh, I'm going to get some fiber into my diet. So I had oats and protein powder mixed up last night, and then I was like, oh, let's go drop some fiber into the mix. And I put some fiber in, 50 grams of fiber, but this is meant to be for 4 lunches or for 4 oat breakfasts and protein. But the fiber that I put in is water soluble. Water soluble means that it attracts water, so it sucks the water. So whatever water was left in the oats and protein powder the soluble fiber that I put into the mix dried it out completely. So now it was like a mush this morning. It was like rock solid. It was like a mushy, hard kind of texture. So I fucked it up basically. And then it was like, well, I'm after putting about 3 scoops of protein and about 200 grams of oats into the mix. I was like, I'm not throwing it out. So I forced myself. I put it into a blender this morning, added more water to make it a little bit, yes, less yucky, but it tastes like absolute shit. But I ate it anyway. But that is the buffalo. So warning to you, if you're watching this or listening to this, remember my videos are on YouTube now, that don't put water soluble fiber, because you can get insoluble fiber, which kind of mixes nicely with yogurt and you get your extra bit of fiber into your diet. Remember, you should be hitting about 20 to 30 grams of fiber per day, just so that your poos are nice and stuck together and it comes out nice and smooth. So that is my high-low buffalo. I think it's kind of a fun thing to do as well. So hopefully I'll try and do that before my next episode, just to kind of liven things up before we get started. So I'm back in Perth, my friends, back to Perth, and we are like, I suppose I got back 2 weeks ago, back from Ireland. And if you've been a regular listener to the podcast, you realize that I went home because my mother was really ill. And the truth is, we were given 2 weeks at the start of January. That was meant to be, say goodbye, come home, fly back from Australia, was up at work, flew home from work, flew back to Perth, flew from Perth to Ireland, and, an emotional roller coaster. It was an emotional roller coaster. It honestly felt like a time warp. It felt like the 10 weeks. I was there from the 11th of January to what month is it now? April, to around, I got back around the 27th of March, I think it was. Got back on a Wednesday. So got back to Perth. When I got back here, my partner wasn't here. Kirby wasn't here. She was away in New Zealand on holidays. So I didn't get to see her when I came back. And then I went back to work. But I was at home because my mother was given, basically we were told 2 to 3 weeks. And the good news is she is still going strong. Difficult time for everyone, difficult time for my mother, for sure, but the strength that she has shown throughout all of this just makes you think long and hard about yourself. And, everyone is going through things, but when you realize how bad it could be and the perspective and the strength that some people show when things get tough, it's incredible to see. But she's doing well. She's doing well for now, at least, anyway, thank God. And yeah, I obviously had to make the decision to leave. Something that I actually forgot that I was going to talk about, but now we're going to talk about it. The decision was made to come back. I changed my flight once after 4 weeks. I changed it again after about 6 or 7 weeks. And then there was a third time, and I was like, I just started a new job just before Christmas. I basically only done 2 weeks. I was having to ring them every time to say, can I leave a little bit longer? All this kind of crack. And they were very accommodating. I work for Rio Tinto now, which is a big mining company. And while I don't want to be mining, I still need money and I need an income. And that is what is providing that at the moment. And I don't know how this opportunity will go at Rio Tinto. I want to make the most of it. I would love to do other things with the company in terms of coaching, in terms of mindset, in terms of whatever it looks like that could probably get me out of mining, but keep me in with this company that might give me other options later on down the line. Maybe a different career. I don't love doing electrical work, but it's the way in the door at the moment. So I had to make the decision to come back. Was not an easy decision, trust me. But from what I've learned before is that you have got to make a decision at some stage, and then you've got to live with that decision. And that's something I'm going to have to do. There's always going to be regrets, but when I talk to people, it's it's great because you kind of get an insight and a perspective from someone else, and people say, well, it's something your mother would have wanted you to, and it was like, when you sit down, you have the hard conversation to say, Mom, I think I might have to go back, but then you don't actually have to do anything in life, only breathe. And I obviously put it off and put it off, and then, but like, your mother will always want what's best for you. And I had to consider the other options. I had to consider my job. I had to consider the fact I hadn't seen Kirby for 3 months. And even when I suppose when I came back to Perth, I was lying in bed here in Perth and Kirby wasn't here. And I was like, damn, this girl had to sleep here in this house by herself for almost 3 months, and that's tough as well. Like it, and you do have to consider what other people are going through and what they have to deal with while you're away. And obviously, I know my mom being sick is obviously the worst thing in the world, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone. But like, there is other factors that come into play. But I made the decision to come back anyway. Not lightly, but I came back and got back. And once I got back, I actually got the flight from Perth to, oh Jesus, let's start about the flight back. I was flying from Kerry to Dublin the day before, on the Tuesday evening, or on the Monday night. I got the flight from Kerry to Dublin so that I could be at the airport the next morning. Then I had the flight from Dublin to London. It's an hour and a half flight, and next thing the flight got delayed. And then when I got to London, I nearly missed my flight from Perth to from London to Perth, because the first flight was delayed. Now I don't know what they had the flight, but I just got on that flight in time. And I was in economy, which is where you got to sit when you don't want to pay for business class or anything like that. But I did have points, Qantas points, and I was able to upgrade to premium economy. And you know what? I'm not messing. It was actually kind of good because I had loads of leg room. There was 3 seats, bigger seats, and there was one lady to the left of me. The middle seat was free, and we'd loads of leg room at the front. So it was definitely worth 20,000 points it cost me, which isn't actually a lot of points, tell you the truth. If you have a Qantas card and you rack up points, 20,000 isn't the whole pile. So it was definitely worth the upgrade. I never got to sleep on the flight. Jesus, 16 and a half hour flight from London to Perth, direct. But it was actually a good flight. I was quite pleasant, actually, to tell you the truth. Then I got back on the Wednesday afternoon. The heat in Perth was, how do I put it? The heat in Perth was chronic. Come back, you forget that like you are living in Ireland with over 2.5 months, and it's cold, and the sun barely gets to 15 degrees on a good day, and you come back to like 35 degrees. I'm not messing with you. I couldn't even go outside the door of the house from 10 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And then one day I called to see my friend 3 days later. So I had about 4 or 5 days in Perth before I flew back to work on the Monday. I called to see a friend of mine. He's like, geez, boy, you don't look too well today. And I was like, oh, I'm tired. Then another guy came in, Mihal. So I was at Adam's house, and then Mihal came in. He was like, geez, lad, you look sick. I was like, no, man, it's the heat. The heat is killing me on a Saturday afternoon. Eventually, I felt like shit, and I said, boys, I'm out of here. I'm going home. I'm going to bed because my sleep's all over the place, and I just need to, this is only about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Anyway, slept, went to the beach that evening for a bit of sunset vibes, and then I got sick. I started throwing up after I left the beach about 7 o'clock, and I went home, and that was on the Saturday night, and I had to fly to work on the Monday morning. And I was like, if this gets any worse, I could be in a bit of trouble. Next thing, Saturday night, puking, pooing chronically. That morning I had to go to the doctor. Got to the doctor. I was like, I can't not miss work after coming back after nearly 3 months off. I have to go to work. So anyway, I got a sick cert if I needed it. That night wasn't too bad. Then I got back to work. Got up to work, met the crew again. That night, Very bad. Could not. That afternoon and that night, I was on the toilet every 30 minutes. And eventually I had to call the boss and say, man, I can't make it in tomorrow. So I had to take the day off. So that was back at work for less than a day, and I was already taking a day off sick. Not the best start to my working life again. But that continued I had for about 4 days, I was absolutely dying. And then I got into the swing of things. And the main thing then for the last week was to like survive work, tell you the truth. Just survive it, get through it. Uh, Check in at home, make sure that like, my mom is doing well. And, you know, the truth is you have such mad dreams. My dreams are absolutely crazy. Like I'd have some absolutely terrible dreams, won't lie to you, because obviously consciously or unconsciously you're thinking about what's happening at the other side of the world. And then I'd speak to my mother, and one day she sounded absolutely incredible. Like she sounded perfect. It's like there was nothing wrong. And then that night I had a dream that she was running around and she was like, "Oh, I'm doing so well." It's amazing how your thought process and your consciousness spits out these dreams after you've had a call, or you've had a positive call, or you've had a negative call. And I always kind of notice that, when you have a dream at night, and my dreams are so vivid. Trust me, people, it's crazy. When I dream, what it actually it feels so real when I dream. Like it's crazy. I have mad dreams, and I do enjoy it. But you usually see something throughout the day, or you hear something, but you don't really remember it happening, and then you go away and you dream it at nighttime. So this is like a little insight into the dreams, but something small can really trigger some big emotion or some big um, unconscious thought that it is there, but then at nighttime you dream about it and you think about it. So wasn't the best start to my week back in Perth. But I got back this week. Now I'm off and just getting back into the routine. So obviously I spoke to you before that like the routine is massive for me. No matter what's happening in life, you still got to look after yourself. Like you've got to be looking after yourself, number one, so that you can show up for everybody else. And getting back, when I was up at work, the good news with work, I suppose two good things happened at work last week. One was that we now start about a half an hour later than we usually did. So instead of starting at 5 past 5 or going to work at 5 past 5, we don't have AM, that is, we don't have to go to work until about 5:40, so there's an extra half an hour in the morning. And there is a new gym that has been built on site that's absolutely phenomenal compared to the other one that was there. Now, when I was there before, I didn't really use the gym because I was only after starting, but this gym is bloody class. So that's the good news about, for me, if I didn't have a gym at work, or if I wasn't able to do anything with health and fitness, I wouldn't be up there. There's no way. I just wouldn't deal with it. I'd be like, no, I'm not going to let that happen. I'm not going to drop that side of my life for more money, or yeah, basically for more money. That's the only reason you're up there, is to get paid more. Can't say I'm up there for any other reason. And, other than hopefully on my weeks off, I can do more podcasts. I can work on the things that I want to do, like fitness retreats to Thailand and to Bali. That's something that hopefully will happen in the next year, and we'll see what the story is. But yeah, that's just a little insight. So got back this week anyway, and yeah, again, I've signed up to Revo Fitness, which is a gym. Just get back into the gym here, because again, I didn't really get a chance to do much while I was at work because I was so sick, tell you the truth. But now it's just about finding that routine again, finding the balance, and just getting back into the swing of it. And the big thing for me again is recording podcasts. I've lined up a couple of interviews, and that has to happen. If I don't do the interviews, I'll feel like my week is being wasted. If I don't spend time with Kirby doing things because first of all, I get to see her for 1 week every two. Second of all, I haven't seen her for 3 months. So, like this week, we have been doing things like, organizing dates, organizing little things, going for walks, spending time together, quality time, because we've had a serious lack of it with the last couple of months. Obviously, we spoke on the phone every day, but that real life connection is something that needs work constantly. And it definitely needs a lot of work this week so that, I can feel like that we're making up for lost time. So that is a big, obviously, focus this week. And then again, just kind of finding my feet at home and doing the things that I enjoy doing. Like a big part of my life when I went home was like walking and running. That's always been a big kind of common denominator. But walking was a massive part of my time at home. It was something that was easy. It was something that I could do at any time of the day, weather permitting. Even at that, I had my jacket, I had my hat, I had my gloves, and you put them on. God, you don't need a hat and you don't need jackets, you don't need gloves out here. You just in Perth, you just got to make sure you're not walking outside in the afternoon because I already get sunburned. You know what I mean? I'm back white as a ghost. So any bit of sun that I do get, I nearly get sunburned. So I have to stay out of it and just be mindful of it. So being back, it's been good. Getting back into the swing of things, which makes life that little bit easier. But like Danny was saying, the first couple of weeks back, no matter what, when you go on holidays for 2 weeks to Spain and then you have to come back and you've got to go to work that week, everything feels difficult. And you've just got to remember that it is going to be difficult and these things do take time to get back into the swing of it. But like while I was at home, obviously there was so much that, like I said, it felt like a time warp. But I think like the fact that like you have you have friends at home that you're reconnecting with. There was a lot of people that I hadn't talked to for a long time, truthfully, or that like all the years I've been away for 10 years, you'd have small talk on social media. You've kind of disconnected from them. You haven't called them for years. And there was quite a few relationships that I was delighted that I was able to like get back. I know you say like when you're away, some things will never, when you meet your friends, your true friends, that, things never change. But life does change. Like people move on. People got their own things and their own shit to be dealing with. But it was great to kind of reconnect with some old friends. And I think one of the biggest things that I'll take from being at home for so long, because obviously when you go home for maybe 2 or 3 weeks, you don't get a chance to meet everyone. Everything is rushed. It is a holiday. You get in, you do all the things, you go different places, and then before you know it, you're back on the plane again. You're back to Australia. You're like, oh, I didn't meet this person. I didn't do this or I didn't do that, but I did a load of other things, and it's very rushed. But when you're at home for 10 weeks, obviously there's a lot of time spent at home in hospital or spent in the hospital. But out of that, then you would make the effort to try and catch up with people. But I did realize that, the community aspect, like I'm from Lixna in County Kerry, it's about 15 minutes outside Tralee. We're in North Kerry, small little village. But when Frank Ronan's little girl, Fia is a young girl, she's only 5 years old, and she suffers with a rare form of cancer. The guys got together to set up Run for Fia, run event, and they had 6 weeks to do it. 6 weeks to put this run event together. There's never been a run event held in Nixna. Big shout out to Reggie Galvin, who, like, honestly, I think Reggie kind of oblivious to the running world or to the safety aspect is like, oh yeah, just put the start line in Finuig, 5k from 5 miles from Lixna, and get him to run to Lixna Sports Field. Till be fine. Till be grand, he said. But a lot more needs to go into it. And then Michelle Gainey came on board. She does run events, and we all sat down in Finuig one day with Teresa Conway, with what's her name? Enroy. Oh God, she'll kill me. Shane Keller, her sister. I'm sorry, brain fart. But anyway, these people get together. They write shit down, they talk it out, and they make it happen. And come that run event 6 weeks later, we had over 300 people registered to run, and it went incredibly well. And it's great to see the power of the community, like the amount of effort that goes into setting up an event like that, the safety, the DJs, the stewarding, like, everything that goes into it, and how they made it happen in such a short space of time. It's like, I see Teresa one day, something needs to be done. Teresa picks up the phone, calls someone, job done. Michael Conway, do you have a generator that we need there in 5 minutes time? Yeah. How many do you need? Like, things get done. It's just incredible to see when the community, any community in Ireland gets together, everyone pulls their weight, and it's like everyone knows each other. And that's something that when I've come back to Australia now, that I'm like, I want more community aspect of things. I hate being by myself. Like I want to be in the community. Like I have a community of Fitstop, which is the where a group fitness studio. There is the community of football, which I've disconnected from with Finbars, which, there's fucking 100 guys down there and girls. And, that are all from Ireland, different parts of Ireland. And that is their sense of community. And it's definitely something that I want to get back into the swing of, just having more of a community aspect, meeting more people, having a bit of crack, and not stop spending. I think like last year when I was doing my Ironman training, you spend so much time by yourself, running, very lonely sport. But, team sports, team events, group culture, it's an amazing thing to be part of, and that can look like different in so many different ways. But there's definitely groups and communities of people everywhere, but you've got to go out and find them. And especially when you're living, like if you're an Irish person living in Australia, like you have got to go find these groups. You're not from here, so you have to go out of your way to find where these people are, and then invite yourself into the group basically. So it's definitely something that I want to do more of here. And however I can have my input. I don't plan on going back playing football, to do the truth. But like, the other day, Thursday morning, I was out back with the guys from the Yellow Run group. They're a run group that I've met before, a crowd of nutters, older gentlemen and women, and that's a great group to be part of. But you have to go down to these things. You've got to drag yourself from your sitting room, from your house, and go down to these people, so that you can be part of their community and you get to meet so many more people. But it's definitely a part of my life that's been lacking. The fact that I'm at work and I work away now, it only gives me a week to be part of these groups. So I have got to make the effort, and it's something that I really do want to be part of. And I think it's a big part of the Irish community, especially. You see it in Ireland, and now you just got to make it part of your life here. That gives you a bit more purpose and, probably a bit more fulfillment, to tell you the truth, definitely on my part. So, yeah, so just that's kind of the basic ins and outs of it. I was getting back into the swing of it again. Not going to keep you for too long today, because that's just like, here I am. I'm back in Perth. I need to settle back into the way of life again and do things that kind of bring me joy and fulfillment, and things that I need to be doing every day to be moving me forward. Obviously, I can put a lot of pressure on myself. We can all put a lot of pressure on ourselves, and sometimes you just kind of need to take a step back. I felt like, I've done that for the last 3 months again now, but it's just time to pick up the ball again and get things moving forward. So thank you all for listening. I am going to have loads of interviews coming up. Swear to God, that's happening. The interviews are coming back. It's very difficult to talk one-to-one or talk to myself or think of ideas that's going to, that I can talk about, that I want to add value. But yeah, definitely have some amazing people coming right up. Again, if you have any questions, any queries, please don't be afraid to hit me up. Hit me up on my email, adrianallencoaching@gmail.com. Or yeah, if you have my WhatsApp number, you can WhatsApp me. I'm not on Instagram for a while, so I'm not really checking messages or anything like that. But yeah, just getting back into the swing of it again, and hopefully bring you loads more of inspiring stories and good news and good moments. Take care. Thank you all for listening. And remember, if you get any values from these episodes, please just like, comment. No, you don't even like and comment. All you got to do is go down there and rate the show. Going to try and get to 50 rates. I have 34 rates. I'm not saying you have to give me 5 stars. I just want to see that you rate the show. If you are a usual listener, if you've only listened once, please don't waste your time. But if you've listened a few times, please go down, rate the show, leave a comment, and yeah, that would be absolutely amazing. All right, take care. Bye-bye, and talk to you all soon.